Monthly Standard interview with attorney Brian Brown from Detroit, Michigan. Attorney Brown, how are you today?
I'm doing well in yourself.
Great, great. Well, everyone knows that Attorney Brown was the attorney for Michael Jackson Bolanos, who was accused of murdering Samantha Woll in Detroit in October of 2023. Uh, that was a great trial. Tell us your thoughts.
My thoughts are it was a long, exhausting trial. Some frustration in the trial for some of the rulings that happened pre-trial, some of the rulings that happened during trial. Thought that was kind of unfair. Also, I was frustrated with the hung jury initially, and also frustrated with the sentence that was handed down to Mr. Jackson Bolanos by the judge for lying to the police.
Now, let's touch on that right quick. He was sentenced to 1 to 15 years?
18 months to 15 years.
18 months to 15 years for lying to the police.
Yes.
Now, you touched on that at trial, and you definitely objected strongly,
Yes.
unfortunately, on deaf ears. Could you please tell our audience why you think it was incorrect to sentence your client to prison for that charge?
First and foremost, that's unheard of in my experience for an individual to just be charged with lying to the police, just simply for denying culpability. So if the police asked you whether or not you did whatever they accused you of doing, and you simply say no, I don't think that rises to the level of lying to the police because it has to be a material fact that's in the jury instructions. So that's first and foremost. And then second of all, and it's the PSI, which is the pre-sentence investigation. The Michigan Department of Corrections, they do a background check on him, so they know all his previous charges, his crimes, and then they make a recommendation to the judge as far as what they believe the sentence to be. And in this particular case, the Michigan Department of Corrections recommended that he serve a term of probation with no additional jail time, and the judge exceeded that recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, now that's a trip that she actually exceeded that. Now, tell us about your background, Attorney Brown. Are you a citizen of the city of Detroit? Were you born and raised in Detroit?
Yes, born here, raised here, I practice here. Been practicing for 8 years. Went to Wayne State, then went to Cooley Law School, and set up my practice in the city.
Okay, great. Now let's get back to this big trial. Um, National appeal. Tell us about some of the national acclaim you got.
I've been had multiple conversations with individuals from CNN. Did an interview with Court TV, Dateline, of course, all the local news stations here. So this definitely has brought some notoriety to our practice, which we're not upset about.
All right. Now, many people watching the trial agree with you. They feel that the ex-boyfriend, Jeff Herbstman, was guilty. He went to Kalamazoo. He freaked out. It's on video, police cam. Tell us your thoughts about his freak out.
I believe that was a guilt-induced episode where the demons were haunting him. I mean, he knew what he did. He then contacted his parents to let them know. They got him a lawyer. He had some marijuana. He had some alcohol. Drugs. Seemed to bring out the truth in individuals. And he just, the demons got a hold of him, and he called the police, and they arrested him. And afterwards, they treated him like he, spilled some milk.
That's important about calling his parents. And you mentioned in the trial that the parents didn't even ask what he's in jail for. Why do you think?
I believe so because they knew. I believe that any reasonable person, friend, family, if you get a call from somebody who's in jail and they say, hey, I'm in jail, contact that lawyer, the first knee-jerk response would be, what are you accused of? What happened? What are they saying you did? Something along those lines. They never asked any type of questions that would ascertain why he was arrested, because I believe he already told them. They probably told him to sit still. I believe his attorney was on vacation at the time. Sit still through the weekend, and then don't say anything. But he got too anxious and did not listen to what they said.
And so this individual's parents somehow, some way, finagled immunity. Could you speak about the type of immunity he got?
Yes, he received use immunity, which is different than transactional immunity. Use immunity is where anything he says on the stand cannot be used against him. So if he would have got on the stand and said, "Yes, I murdered her," they wouldn't be able to use that statement against him. However, they can still use evidence that came forth at the trials. Things that we use that asked them during cross-examination, things that we asked the officers. They can use that, opposed to transactional immunity, where he wouldn't be able to be charged for the crime no matter if he said anything or for evidence that was discovered prior or during the trial.
Do you think there's a chance that Jeff Hertzman will be accused of this murder?
I seriously, I don't think so, because a lot of the questions we asked, that evidence is gone. We asked officer in charge whether or not he went to the synagogue to get surveillance of what he was wearing that day, whether he talked to witnesses on what he was wearing that day. He said no. And I said, had you known that, would you have seized his clothes at his house and analyzed those clothes? He said yes. So whatever he was wearing that day is long gone. Any surveillance is long gone. They didn't check the fire pit. They didn't check his bike. It's a lot of evidence that they should have checked, but now it's so late in the game that evidence would have been gone now.
Destroyed forever.
Destroyed forever.
A miscarriage of justice, it seems.
Absolutely. For one, they had the wrong individual on trial.
Yes.
And that's not justice. That's not justice for the victim, who her murderer is still out in the world.
Yes.
And then it's not justice for my client, because he was fighting for his life.
Yes.
And had not, we came to the verdict that was received, he'd be facing the rest of his life in prison.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Are you going to appeal?
Yes, we already filed the appeal. It's funny too. I was speaking to a potential appeal attorney today about the aspects of the case. It seems that because we're in Wayne County, if there is an appeal, it very well may be take so long that by the time that appeal comes through, he may be released.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing, and it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing because, for one, he wouldn't be in there that long, but it also could be a bad thing because he could have to serve time that he otherwise wouldn't have had to serve had there be an expedient appeal process.
Well, that's true. Yeah, exactly. So you're saying that the appeal process could take a year and a half?
Yes, for one, the appellate attorney would have to receive the transcripts from the trial, and this was like a 5-week trial. And in Wayne County, they're so slow as far as getting the transcript, especially a trial of this magnitude. It could very well be months and months, if not a year, before that appellate attorney receives the transcript. Then they would have to go through all those transcripts, and in that amount of time, he could be released, since he's already served 8 months, almost 9 months out of a 18-month sentence.
Right. Now, even though okay, what really bothers me is the bloody footprint. I know that there's a lot of evidence that is gone forever from Herbstman, but I truly believe that he is the killer. That one shadowy figure that you spoke about during the trial, could you talk about that and the footprint in the apartment?
Yes. So there was an individual who was running from the scene, sprinting from the scene at 1:24 a.m., which was around the same time that her system went into idle mode after a continuous motion in the apartment. So then I blew up the picture of this person running, freeze framed it, blew it up, and then took a picture from his interview at the Kalamazoo police station and put them side by side. And to me, it looked like the same individual, the same haircut, glasses, same build, same coat. And to me, that was Jeff Hirschman. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was able to do this on a regular laptop, why didn't law enforcement make the same type of comparison? And then the prosecutor acted like during trial, like he didn't know where we got this from. Like, I got this from the discovery that you gave me. So that was very interesting. And then, secondly, yes, there was a footprint that was a bloody footprint that was on top of the pillow. They then compared that footprint or shoe print against my client's shoes that they seized from his apartment, and it was not a match. They also did a comparison against her footwear because it's her house to see if her shoes could have made this particular shoe print, and it was not a match. So to me, there's no doubt that whoever shoe print this was the killer. And of course, they didn't do any type of comparisons for Jeff Hirschman, his shoes.
And that's a shame. Probably those shoes are long gone, but they still could match it up for size. Any shoe that he has to see if it's the same size or I mean, but they just do not want to prosecute this man.
Yeah, that's absolutely. They didn't seize any clothes. They didn't seize any shoes from his residence. They did all of that from my client. They seized his clothes. They seized his shoes. They also didn't do the same type of analysis from two knives that they seized from Jeff Hirschman, a comparative analysis that they did with my client's knives that they seized from his apartment.
Unbelievable. So individuals who may be watching Attorney Brown who need an attorney, tell us about your style and why they should hire you. What are your perspectives?
First and foremost, we bring passionate, competent representation. I like to represent individuals the way I would want to be represented if I was in their position. So when I look at a case before we go to trial, I try to look at it from multiple perspectives. I try to look at it from a defense attorney to see any type of weaknesses in the prosecutor's case, look at the evidence. Then I also try to look at it from the prosecutor's perspective. If I were trying this case, how would I try this case? So, and I also try to look at it from a perspective as if I was a juror, if I was sitting on the juror, just the average Joe Schmo, and I heard both perspectives, the prosecutor's perspective and the defense's perspective, how would I look at the case? And then I try to bring those three different perspectives to my client to give him my opinion of how this case could go.
Well, that's honest, that's forthright, and that's basically what any client would want from their attorney. This is Attorney Brian Brown, folks, attorney extraordinaire from the city of Detroit. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.